Some students are interested to know something more about the valency of sulfate, how it is too. And it was asked in my channel. That's why I'm going to answer this question. All of we know that sulfate, its formula is SO4 and its valency is 2. Now, how its valency is 2? Now, there are different methods, different ways to explain it. I want to explain very simple way like this. Look at this is sulfur, and sulfate contains 4 oxygen atoms attached with it. I'm making it around the sulfur. Now, sulfur has got 6 electrons in its outermost shell, and I'm going to place these 6 electrons this way. There is certain reason for this. I'll make you clear. Now, oxygen also has got 6 electrons in its outermost cell. Oxygen's electronic configuration is 2 6. First cell 2, second cell 6, and that's why outermost cell contains 6. And for sulfur it is 2 8 6. It also contains 6 electrons in its outermost cell. Now, for oxygen, look at this how it is placed this way. 6 electrons, let's say this way. And in this oxygen, I want to show a little differently because there is certain reason 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here also, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, how they are sharing their electron, I want to tell about that. Now, look it with another ink. This sulfur shares 2 electrons with this oxygen this way, and 2 electrons with this oxygen this way. Oxygen also shares its 2 electrons with this sulfur, and this oxygen also shares its 2 electrons with this sulfur. That's why there is double bond. But for this oxygen and this oxygen atom, there is single bond like this. Only 1 electron is shared with each other. Okay. Now, let's talk in detail about this. Now, how many electrons are there in the outermost cell of this oxygen and this oxygen? It is similar. This and this are similar. Let's start with this. Here we have 6 oxygen of this 6 electrons of this oxygen, and 2 of sulfur is shared. That's why altogether 8 electrons in its outermost cell, and it forms octet and it is satisfied. Now here also 6 electrons of this oxygen, outermost cell of this oxygen shares is 2 with the 2 electrons of sulfur, and 2 plus 6 becomes 8, and this is also satisfied. Now these 2 oxygens are not satisfied. There are 6 electrons, and one of the electron of sulfur is shared here, and altogether there is 7, and still 1 is needed for the fulfillment of this outermost cell. That's why it has -1. We can say 1 is needed, that's why minus sign, and 1 is not fulfilled, and 1. And here also the same thing. Here 1 2 3 4 5 6 and 7. Seventh one is of sulfur, and to form octet we need 1 electron more, and that's why 1 electron is needed, so minus sign is written and 1 electron. Now what is the result of this all discussion? This sulfate requires 2 electrons from other in the chemical reaction. It gains 2 electrons from other. That's why its valency is negative and it is 2. Now what about sulfur? I'm talking only about the oxygen. In case of sulfur, it is different. Look at this. This 2 plus 2 plus 2. Altogether, there are 6 electrons of sulfur in the outermost cell. But 2 of this oxygen atom is shared. 6 plus 2, 8. And this 1, 9. And this one, 10. And this 11 and 12. Sulfur has got 12 electrons in its outermost cell. Now, this is the clue point. This is the main point of the sulfate, that sulfur has got more than 8 electrons in its outermost cell. Now, how? Why? The question is how and why. Now, I want to tell about this with the help of periodic table. If you remember, in the periodic table, first period has got two electrons as two elements, hydrogen and helium, and after helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, and neon comes under this helium. And after neon we have sodium, and then magnesium, aluminium, silicon, and phosphorus, and then sulfur. Our target is sulfur. Look at this. This is called first period. First period. This one is second period. This one is third period. And for your information, if you have idea about this, you have to remember that the first period there are two elements. They have only one cell, only one cell. But second period, the elements of second period contains two cells in its atom, and elements of third period contains three cells in its atom. Now, if there is only one cell in an atom of the element, then it will be satisfied with 2 electrons. If there are two cells, then the outermost cell forms octet. It will be satisfied with 8 electrons. But if there are three cells, then outermost cell may contain more than 8 electrons. This is the case of sulfur. And that's why sulfur can hold more than at 8 electrons. Here we have altogether 12 electrons in its outermost cell. But for oxygen, it is always 2. It requires 2 electrons. And but for sulfur, there's different cases. It can hold more than 8 electrons. That's why they say this sulfate is different than other. Now, in previous class, I explained about this in another way. What I told you, sulfur is valency at this time is 6. At this time, when it forms sulfate, at this time its valency is 6. Why I told you 6? Because how many electrons are shared by the sulfur in this sulfate, that represents its valency. This 2 is shared with this oxygen, this 2 is shared with this oxygen, this 1 is shared with this, and 1 is shared. All 6 electrons are shared by the sulfur with the oxygen. That's why its valency is 6. But for oxygen it is always 2. There's no any question about this. But there are 4 oxygen. That's why 2 4s are 8. And I told that if we take oxygen as negative and this as positive, then the resultant will be -2. This way also we can declare valency of sulfate as negative, and it is 2. Okay, this much for today.